Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the relatively common bug-type Pokemon Grubbin, the Larva Pokémon, its uncommon bug electric-type evolution Charjabug, the Battery Pokémon, and its final rare evolution Vikavolt, the Stag Beetle Pokémon. Filled with energy and more than able to share it both passively and offensively, the members of the Grubbin family are powerful little critters that can more than make themselves a nuisance if not tackled properly.
Grubbin possess short, stout gray bodies with two pairs of yellow dots on the side of their form and a red and yellow exoskeletal shield covering the top of their head for protection as they move about on a series of 6 short, stubby gray legs. They have large black eyes to aid in seeing in limited light conditions, and the front of their body is almost completely taken up by the yellow and red tipped pincers near their brown mandibles and face, capable of cutting through even thick tree roots and branches with little trouble. The evolved form, Charjabug, have a very simple box-like body form with a green exoskeleton, circular marks on their side, and 2 pairs of tiny yellow feet that usually go unnoted, scrunched between the segments of their body. They have bright blue box-shaped eyes with small yellow pincers they use to generate electrical attacks with, and a vertical set of grey mandibles strong enough to give more than a nasty bite to anything that gets too close to them. Their final evolution, Vikavolt, have a dark teal-blue body color with a silver abdomen and 4 black legs, the front pair ending in 1 pair of claws each, and the back legs only a single claw. They have large, clear wings that are usually hidden under their back, and bright yellow eyes that are held fairly close together. Their front pincers have elongated into a pair of barbed appendages with blue on the inside and yellow on the outer edges near the orange mandibles, and are used for both biting and focusing electricity to fire out as beams of energy. The members of the Grubbin family are not the only creatures of their kind that can use electricity as a weapon, but they are notably different in that they are not inherently born with the capacity to use electricity in any direct form, instead acquiring it over the course of their lifetime as they develop from a larval grub to their adult form, which exists as a type of stag beetle. These creatures spend much of their early life underground and feed primarily on tree sap, using the oversized pincers to scrape the outer bark and wood off of trees to feed, and are able to traverse the underground easily as a result of their cutting power, being actually born with access to the vice grip attack and using it to cut through thick branches and roots that might be in their way, as well as viciously attack anything that tries to make a meal out of them.
While they might not get access to an actual string shot technique until a little bit after birth, contrary to many other young bug-type Pokemon, this doesn't bother them that much, as they're able to get a host of potent attacks before they evolve even once, which helps since they take quite a bit longer to evolve than other bug types of their developmental caliber.
Once it is time for them to evolve, though, they will spray their entire bodies with silk that hardens shortly after coming into contact with the open air to create a stout and hard cocoon over their bodies. This cocoon is distinct, however, in that it can actually conduct an electrical charge, and can thus allow these creatures to make the most of the electrical powers they start to develop as soon as they start to approach evolution.
From here, it takes a ridiculous amount of electrical energy to allow them to fully mature, but when they do mature, they end up becoming one of the most offensively powerful electric-type Pokemon known to exist, Vikavolt.
While they might not seem that dangerous, Grubbin in particular are able to put up quite a fight when they are in danger, as seen in their only base ability, the Swarm ability, and their electrical powers come to the forefront when they evolve into Charjabug and acquire a signature ability in the Battery ability. This comes as a consequence of their capacity to use their bodies like living batteries, and while it doesn't help them out personally, it does allow them to share their power with others in a multi-Pokemon battle, boosting the power of its allies' special attacks by 30%. This is once again replaced once they have fully evolved, as they generate a powerful electromagnetic field that allows them to levitate off of the ground even when they are not actively flying, granting them the levitate ability. In looking at their stats, it can be said that Vikavolt are not the strongest offensively in close quarters and do not have great resistance against special attacks or can move very quickly, so the base attack, special defense, and speed stats are below average for fully evolved bug and electric type Pokemon. On the other hand though, they do have decent stamina to them, can take physical hits fairly well thanks to the hard exoskeleton, and are able to harness their special powers to deliver devastating special attacks with little issue, resulting in the base HP, defense, and special attack stats being above average for fully evolved Pokemon of both of their types.
As such, while they might move a bit cumbersomely, these insectoids can prove to be a terrifying force to have to confront, and definitely not creatures worth fighting without strong special defenses to buffer against their best attacks.
While they do gain access to a spark attack as they get close to the point of evolution, Grubbin are still not electric types themselves, and are in turn just as vulnerable to the attacks of predatory bird Pokémon as similar larval insectoid Pokémon, thus spending much of their time underground, safe from attack, and making them much more uncommon to see on the surface compared to Pokémon like Caterpie. The massive pincers of these creatures help to at least deter small predators, but it is not enough to make them completely safe from attack. As a result, these little beasties will spend as much of their time near actual electric-type Pokémon as they can for defense, hoping for some sort of protection to be offered in exchange for the clearing of brush or the sharing of sap food resources. When this is not an option, they will instead gather in large numbers near power lines and power stations, and use their sticky silk to create lines attached to power cables from which they can then swing across to avoid danger. This places them at the mercy of airborne Pokémon, but few are bold enough to try and snag them midair without also risking the possibility of getting tangled in the silk threads and in turn power lines, made even worse by the fact that their silk is in fact capable of conducting an electric current. Regardless, it is an unwise idea to go looking for them in the burrows they dig with their pincers, unless one wants to get their hands sliced apart, and they are capable of cutting down most small foes like Rookidee with ease using their pincers after encasing them in silk. This means that caution is highly recommended when dealing with these creatures, as they are a notable example of their bite being far worse than their bark, so to speak. Evolution into Charjabug might restrict these creatures in the movement a bit, and slightly decrease their base speed stat, as well as switch their EV yield from 1 in attack to 2 in defense. This is more than compensated for by them developing an organ in their bodies that allows them to store and release electrical charges from their bodies freely, effectively turning them into living batteries and making them partial electric types. This enables them to acquire the charge technique immediately after evolving, as well as iron defense and discharge moves later in life if they do not evolve quickly, and this is something that usually doesn't happen often, as the conditions needed for these creatures to evolve are staggering in some cases.
While these creatures can be instantly evolved through the radiant energy of a thunderstone, outside of this, they can only evolve rapidly if they grow and develop in highly energized electromagnetic fields, and these sorts of areas are generally very hard to come by.
As far as their daily life is concerned, these creatures mainly live off of the humus that collects on the floors of forests and dense grasslands, converting the stored energy and nutrients inside of the material into an electrical charge that they then use to power both their bodies and their attacks, focusing electrical energy between their small pincers before firing it outwards. Their eyes help in this, in that they are able to see both light and detect chemical odors in the air, allowing them to find fresh humus easily, even as they generally remain half buried in the ground in leaf and humus piles, so only their electrically charged pincers are pointed upwards towards persistent predatory Pokémon, giving anything that accidentally steps on them a nasty shock. While they might more or less stick to absorbing and storing electrical energy in their bodies so they can move slowly towards a point where they can use the electrical power to evolve, the conductive surface of this silk-wrapped covering means that these creatures can be used just like batteries and thus act as a portable source of power. This doesn't seem to do them a great deal of harm, so it is not uncommon for camping humans or even members of their own evolutionary family to pick them up and use them for a quick burst of power, leaving them to simply go about their daily lives afterwards with little more than a slight drop in internal energy reserves to worry about. Eventual evolution into Vikavolt radically changes these creatures in their forms as they achieve the adult stag beetle form they are supposed to take on. While it might not make much sense at first, evolution not only ever so slightly decreases the base defense stat of these creatures as they lose their cocoon shell, but also slightly decreases their base attack stat as their primary weapon, their pincers, grow elongated and a bit more delicate in form. In addition, while evolution does give them a slight increase to the base speed stat, they are still technically slower than they were as grubs in terms of numerical value alone. However, this is also met with an absolutely tremendous increase to their special offenses and a switch in the EV yield from 2 in defense to 3 in special attack. And while they lose access to the X, Scissor, Crunch, Dig, Iron Defense, and Discharge moves that they can learn as Charjabug, Vikavolt gain access to a Thunderbolt attack immediately after evolving, and can further get exclusive access in their family to the Bug Buzz, Guillotine, Fly, Agility, and Zap Cannon moves. Vikavolt don't just look terrifying though, they can more than fill the part of a serious menace as they use the electrical organ in their abdomen, along with their streamlined mandibles, to focus electrical energy at the base of their mouth before using their long pincers to accelerate electrical charges as they leave their main body, resulting in them being able to fire concentrated beams of electrical energy like a rail cannon. These attacks are not only incredibly powerful, but, more importantly, if these creatures can get their claws on a Charjabug, they can use their own kind as batteries to recharge themselves and fire these bursts of energy in rapid fashion, making short work of anything that dares to challenge them. Despite their low base speed stat, these creatures are also highly maneuverable, able to adjust their position on the fly rapidly to dodge incoming attacks, as well as find the weakest point of their target to make the most of their offenses before they run out of electrical energy and need to recharge. Their capacity to zip in and around the battlefield with ease can more than fluster even large bird Pokémon, and combined with their immense power, makes Vikavolt extremely dangerous creatures to have to confront in any battle, and definitely an insectoid that even the strongest of bird Pokémon will likely think twice about confronting before getting themselves into a dangerous confrontation.
While they might seem cute, if not a bit vicious as larvae, the members of the Grubbin family are potent insectoids that can easily become some of the most dangerous of creatures to face without protection against electricity. With the highest non-legendary and non-UV based special attack stat out of all electric-type Pokemon, and the highest in general out of all bug-type Pokemon, and a variety of moves fit for their offensive purposes, it can definitely be said that these critters are something you don't want to handle without personal protection, preferably with as much insulating material as you could possibly get.
Just do yourself a favor and be kind to these beasties and never take more power than what you need. They might not always mind sharing a bit of the electricity to help others out, but you might find yourself in for a rude awakening if you mistreat them, only to get nailed from over 100 feet away from an electrical bolt from one of their adult beetles that may or may not leave a hole in you as a permanent message towards treating them more considerably. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
No.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.